Hi, folks. Welcome to Friday's edition of I Write Radio videocast stroke podcast. We're all wearing hats because it's Friday and nothing cheers you up quite like wearing a hat when you can't go to the pub. We're going to have a chat about a couple of articles that have appeared today. One from Robin McAlpine of Common Weal, and the other one from Mr. Murphy, who is an independent supporting, well, what is he? He's a chartered accountant, Murphy, isn't he?
He calls himself Tax Research, something or other. That's his title, or his blog title, isn't it?
Aye, but that article came out of Common Weal or not? Let's be honest.
Oh, right. Yes, he just repeated it, didn't he? He just reposted it from, can't remember the guy's name, but he's another guy at Common Weal. This is my subject, so I suppose I should go with it. What I found interesting about it, I mean, I suppose we all kind of hope that after this coronavirus pandemic is over, we somehow create a better world. Now, what it's shown, I think it's fair to say, is that supply chains, international supply chains, globalization, can create problems for countries who don't produce what's necessary, be that medicine or ventilators or protective gear. McAlpine takes it onto a kind of more global economic level by saying, and I don't think he actually uses the word self-sufficiency, but he hints at it. He certainly thinks that we should be able to produce our own food. He doesn't think we should produce our own phones, I think is the example he gives, because we don't have an indigenous supply of the materials necessary to put a phone together. He does think we should produce our own furniture because we've got plenty of trees. I'm not sure how IKEA will feel about that, but never mind. Murphy basically went on the economic side of it. You really need to read the articles, folks, to get the full gist of it. However, it also appears that the neolibs in America are up for a similar change, because it fits in with Trump's mantra of make America great again, lock down the borders, didn't buy anything from anybody else. Jimmy, your thoughts on it?
It certainly does. It's been hijacked already by the right wing to basically use economics and globalization as a big stick to beat China with. It plays right into their ideas of exceptionalism and how this is all China's fault, really, and they're still quite upset that they can't quote the Chinese flu or the Wuhan flu or whatever. I think my worry about the left, my worry about somebody like McAlpine pumping this out the now, is that it's wishful thinking in a lot of ways. It's typical left-wing wishful thinking. We can create a better world here. We can do something better, which is brilliant. It makes for fabulous essays and great evenings sitting with a couple of pints round the fire chatting about it. But the reality tends to be pretty different.
Oh, I remember those days, Jimmy.
Yeah, but the world's run, the assets of this planet are held by right-wing neolibs, and they ain't giving that up anytime soon. Hence the reason, as soon as the left starts talking about doing things differently, they've already got their attack dogs in there. I do worry that the second one, the tax research thing, I enjoyed immensely at pointing out just how much the UK government's bailout for the workers is actually just another bailout for those with money, because we're getting to borrow money, whereas these companies are being handed it. The banks are getting guarantees from the government for all the loans that they'll put out. So that's just another huge transfer of national asset to the banks. And who owns the banks? Certainly not you and me.
Sure.
As far as I was concerned, that's the worst article I've ever read by Robin McAlpine. I think he's been on the goodness knows what he's been on, but I'm sorry, his history was rubbish. His history of economics was rubbish. He suggested that neoliberalism only started 40 years ago, and his understanding, his explanation of why Keynesian economics stopped being fashionable was laughable as well. Let me start by saying something really important here.
Well, could you, sure, just a minute, could you move your mic? Just push it up or down. Right, okay, try that.
I think we are almost certainly looking at a fairly dystopian future. It's a world crisis. There is no, it doesn't look as though any economy is going to be able to rescue us. So it's, we're looking at maybe a random figure of 30% down on the world economy. So everybody's going to struggle, and especially things like restaurants and all the rest of it. Anyway, the point is this. If America is going down this MAGA road, make America great again, putting up the borders and all the rest of it, if America needs something in the near future, they're going to use their power, their military power, to take what they want if it's a dystopian future. And then thinking back to Robin McAlpine's article, what he's suggesting is a command economy, which is, it's failed all over the world. That was communism. And one last thing I think I'd like to bring up would be resources. His narrow idea of resources. What the hell was he on? Well, Scotland's got wood. I tell you what Scotland's got, a very educated, clever population. That is the principal resource Scotland's got.
I do. He did avoid the issue of how are we going to get the money to buy the phones if we're not exporting to other countries. It's all very well being self-sufficient, but if you're not bringing in goods from other countries, why would other countries buy goods from you or vice versa? It's never quite as simple as being self-sufficient.
Right, what country in the world has got all the ingredients to make a mobile phone then? Can you suggest one?
None.
I wouldn't think there is one.
Exactly.
I mean, we've got petrochemicals for the plastics. Africa's got the, what would you call it?
The minerals that you need to make batteries. Cadmium and whatever.
And so on. So, I mean, I would imagine a mobile phone is a pretty good example of why the world has to cooperate. What struck me about both the strands of this, both articles, was that it's the same arguments that are used, believe it or not, for the universal basic income. Some on the right love it because they see it as just a slightly higher level playing field for them. And they think it will encourage entrepreneurs and people to set up small businesses to manufacture new stuff for people to keep buying. The left think it's a way to close the gap, the financial gap between the rich and the poor. I don't think anybody who has ever run an experiment with it has managed to definitively prove either case or disprove either case.
Come on, Norrie, you and I are old enough to remember the days when the left in this country were very against the European Union. And yet there was a section on the left which understood what was going on. I'm going to refer to something that happened in the 60s. When Rhodesia grabbed their independence, they just, what was it? Well, what do we call it these days? It's got a name. Doesn't matter. UDI.
UDI. Yeah.
Right. So the Wilson Labour government in this country sanctioned Shell because Shell Oil were still supplying petrol and oil to Rhodesia. Shell Oil was a world company and totally ignored the sanction from the UK. At that point, it became attractive to join the European Union or the common market at the time, so that having the unity of multinational, a multinational organization was the only way you could stand up against a multinational corporation.
Jimmy?
Well, mate, I look at it in terms of, I looked at McAlpine's article and I saw it as obfuscation. I saw it as muddy in the waters. And from a Scottish point of view, that's not what I want coming out of Commonweal. I want them to be talking about Scotland. If they want to, as I say, if they want to go in with their pie in the sky nonsense about what can happen in the world, do it. But go and sit around a fire somewhere and do it, because I'm tired of hearing that. I've heard it for years and it's never ever worked. And all it does is take away the case for Scottish independence. He is deliberately setting out to target the independence community and tell us that we need to change the world. We didn't. We need to change Scotland first. To hell with the rest of the world. We'll do that later.
Right, I'm going to show you this clip from Trump's press conference. The guy you're going to see, God, I've forgotten his name, sorry, but he is always on Fox News. So I'm going to show you this clip, lads.
One of the things that this crisis has taught us, sir, is that we are dangerously over-dependent on a global supply chain. For our medicines, like penicillin, our medical supplies, like masks, and our medical equipment, like ventilators. We have right now, as we speak, over 50 countries have already imposed some forms of export restrictions in their country against the rest of the world. And what we're learning from that is that no matter how many treaties you have, no matter how many alliances, no matter how many phone calls, when push comes to shove, you run the risk as a nation of not having what you need. And if there's any vindication of the president's buy American, secure borders, and a strong manufacturing base philosophy, strategy, and belief, it is this crisis, because it underscores everything that we see there. So the Buy American order, which is going through process, would do a couple things. It would simply say, not during this crisis, because we don't want to disrupt anything. I want to be really clear about that. But going forward, after this is over, the VA, DOD, HHS, and this government buys American for essential medicines, our medical countermeasures, and the medical supplies and equipment we need. At the same time, it will deregulate so we can get the FDA and EPA to facilitate domestic manufacturing. Because the key here is this manufacturing on U.S. worry about competing against different tax regimes and the massive attacking our industrial base. The priorities we have right now are EPA, but if we learn anything,
so you kind of have it, guys. I noticed the neoliberal mantra of cut regulation was in amongst it. But
what utter nonsense on our end. The boys babbling absolute gash. The reason that Apple became the biggest, most profitable company on the planet is because they shut their factories in America and moved most of their manufacturing to China. He's not going to Trump isn't going to turn around to Apple or none of the big American corporations and stop them doing whatever they want. They'll just shut them up, and they'll shut them up by making sure that somebody else wins the election in November.
Well, I tell you now, Trump, I think, is quite capable of telling Apple to move their manufacturing back to the US or become an ostracized company. The man's mad. I don't think there's anything he wouldn't do.
He's not going to win the next election. This whole thing is a nonsense, mate.
He wasn't supposed to win the last one.
He's not going to win this one, mate. He won the last one. Fortunately, let's be honest, he won. He lost the popular vote. It was a lot tighter than everybody gives credit for it being. But he's not going to win this year.
What something Stuart said earlier had me thinking. You know, America has always had a problem with Britain's empire. But
That's
this,
because they want to build their own.
well,
They have.
this looks like the first step on an American empire. Stuart's point about anything they can't get by agreement, they'll just go and take.
We already live in the American empire, Norrie. They've got more bloody bases out with America than they've got in America. How many military bases do they have wrapped around Iran and Russia? There must be about 60.
Aye, but we're talking about Trump here. Trump doesn't seem to have a foreign policy apart from leave. But Stuart's point about basically them going and just taking what they want, I think is valid if they go to a lockdown the American borders and bring manufacturing back to America. You know, I mean, I've argued that we've got an opportunity after this coronavirus thing's over to reset, I suppose, social policy more than anything else. I'm not sure that it's not a bigger opportunity for the neolibs to reset that policy.
Well, I think that's where I would commend. But that man was just that American guy. Bear in mind that Donald Trump was stood right beside him. You could see part of his jacket throughout it. No, we face a totally different world. We're far more likely to get a lot more right-wing governments as a result of this crisis than any other kind of government. Robin McAlpine's sitting on a thistle. He's no idea.
Okay. Well, we now, I suppose, need to talk about coronavirus, as that is the only thing anybody else is talking about. Brexit. Just thought I'd throw that in. Jimmy, we'll give you the bite of the cherry on this one.
Right. Well, Nicholas Sturgeon's presser of the day, very interesting, I thought. I thought she was seeking to put clear yellow water between herself and Matt Hancock's assertion yesterday about getting to 100,000 tests. I think you could see the disdain on her face. And she made a point of saying that our ambition to reach 3,500 tests is it's actually slightly more than the UK ambition to reach 25,000, which they quietly dropped yesterday because they were getting nowhere near it, and instead set a target of 100,000 for the end of April. Now, given that they've got nowhere near the 25, in fact, they're barely at the 10 they were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Well, God only knows what they're going to do to get to 100,000. I think it was pretty plain that Nicholas Sturgeon doesn't believe they're going to get to that 100,000.
Well, I think Hancock's hoping that this antibody test that doesn't exist yet is something that is a self-test.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way it seems practical he could get to his 100,000. Stuart.
Well, it'd be like a pregnancy test. You can just buy one and do it at home.
Yeah.
Well,
that seems to be the way. And then they need to come up with a website that you can click on and say, I've done the test and I've got
give me a
antibodies.
certificate.
Aye. Which, you know.
The First Minister dealt with that as well.
Aye, when the Express asked us, he just about snorted in derision when he mentioned certificates of immunity.
Yeah, you could get a certificate today, and you could then get reinfected tomorrow or something. The certificate, it's pointless. It's pie in the sky. She was actually very controversial. There's no going away from it. One of the other issues that she highlighted right at the start was because it's Easter, and we've heard from France that in France they're going to put a ring of roadblocks around Paris to stop the Parisians leaving on their spring holiday, because apparently they do that in millions every year. And so there were questions apparently yesterday that about the spring holiday, and the restrictions are going to be essential, and there won't be a spring holiday rush out of here in Scotland. But the other big question was the peak. The peak of the virus will be in a week, and she said there's no basis to agree on that. No basis at all. Now there'll be arguments about that down south. They won't like that, will they?
Well, do you know, Do you know what I've found interesting about, and you can almost class the papers that are doing it. It's the Mail and the Express mostly, the Sun occasionally. They're looking for her to commit to a solid date, a solid number, something that they can come back and bite her with. You said on the, what was it, the 3rd of April, that
Yeah.
you would have 8 million tests and you've only got 7,900,099. You know, they're
Because
looking
they're
for the
having to
kind of
attack,
information they can attack her with.
they're having to attack their own side at the moment with that, because they're having to do that down south, because their friends in the broadsheets are a bit more willing to actually attack the Conservative government where the Conservative government is failing, whereas the likes of the Express, they would never want to attack Tories at any point whatsoever. I'm actually wondering if Matt Hancock's display yesterday is indicative of the Tories. They were more worried about the economy at the start of all this. Are they giving into pressure from the moneyed elite? Are they now starting to hint, yeah, we can get out of this lockdown. We'll find ways to get you back to work so that you can increase your profits?
I would be surprised if the Tories weren't planning that way. I mean, that's the raison d'etre. That's what they do. They're the, I was going to say they're the party of business. They're the party of money is more
the party
accurate.
of money, exactly.
Aye.
Well,
It was interesting, her choice of the phrase as well. Sorry, Stuart, her choice of phrase that she won't be pushed into speculating without having any informed basis. Because I'm effectively thinking that that's what she's saying Matt Hancock did yesterday. He's speculating about stuff with no information to actually back that speculating up. He's hoping, he's living on a wing and a prayer that they'll come up with some way of testing people and that they can hand out these daft certificates. As Stuart said, it wouldn't be worth printing one up because they certainly wouldn't be worth the paper you printed it on.
Stuart?
I thought she was altogether, generally speaking, she was very, very good, as she always is these days. I do believe it was shown live on Sky, most of it, presumably up to the hour. And she did actually push, well, let's put it this way, I'm looking forward to the pushback from London and from all of the press that hate her. I think you're right, Jimmy's right. She really did stick it to them, politely, as always.
Do you know?
And don't, well, just one last thing, don't forget, it's not just this government you're talking about that's running this, don't forget, it's Cummings. It's Cummings with his ideology, his eugenics ideology, and with they always, what they do is, you're the man that's always saying it, they fly a kite to see how it goes. And then if they do get a bad reaction, they don't run it. Except they didn't just fly a kite with the herd immunity thing, according to the last health minister, Jeremy Hunt. They did actually run with it.
Well, do you know, I get the impression, especially after watching yesterday's, both Sturgeon's presser and Hancock, but I think they've got a couple of spads sitting in front of the telly watching Sturgeon, taking notes. Because he's beginning to sound more and more like her. Unfortunately, he's not prepared to actually just tell the truth. So it doesn't work. Because for it to work, you have to be able to say, you know, I don't know. I'm giving you no information unless I know it's true.
And they're not willing to do that in London. They're just not willing to do that. And it's pretty plain. I mean, that 5 pillars thing yesterday, that was like 3 spads had got together out the back for a fag and come up with it on the back of said fag packet.
Well, I think it's to do.
Start looking into it.
I think they've got a whole bunch of guys there who are just so used to spinning that that's all they can do.
Yeah, factual nothing to them.
Death toll for UK, and it's in the 600s. So we're still on a steep curve, UK-wise.
And we will be. I mean, that little plateau they had a couple of days ago, turns out didn't include all the figures.
Yeah.
So,
It's
you know,
noticeable that our curve has taken that turn that we were talking about at the start of the week when we said that this is the week, if it's going to get bad in Scotland, it will start to ramp up. Well, it is. You know, it was 47 yesterday or something. That's a big number. So it's
yeah.
definitely taken that turn up. But it's interesting. Well, it's not even interesting. It's annoying more than anything else now that they didn't talk about deaths in England. They will not use the E word. They talk about deaths in Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and the United Kingdom. How embarrassing is it that English people can't even say the name of their own country because they're
Well,
determined not for people in England to think that they're suffering.
I've been watching Channel 4 news in preference to everything else recently, all the other newscasters, and all their information is England.
Yeah, that's noticeable, mate. That's why I tend to watch that as well.
All their stats is England. They do pieces on Scotland, and they do them quite well, I have to say.
Yeah,
I've been
I
quite
think
impressed.
I think they've got a young reporter here in Scotland, Kieran Andrews or something like that.
Aye.
And he's
Boy's quite good.
And he's done a few special reports, but they're like, special reports. So they're features almost. They're done the day before.
Yeah, but what I mean, I will say that they don't do the UK thing. They do England, and all their charts and all their maps are very specific. I have to say that is something about the Westminster pressers I like, are the charts they put up, the 3 charts.
Oh, come on, Norrie.
No, I think the visual of the curve of the deaths, I think, is useful.
Well, okay, but
I think we could benefit from that.
There's lies and statistics. They are presenting the statistics in the way that they want you to see them. They can be presented in quite a lot of other ways.
Stuart, I know this, but it's just a very easy way to grasp what they're trying to tell you. I mean, am I supposed to just totally ignore everything they say?
Possibly. Maybe.
Unfortunately, the only source of this information is the governments of whichever region of the country or country of the regions you're in.
Yeah, it was interesting again that Sturgeon took copious questions at our presser as opposed to the few that they do in London. Just being a bit more honest and a bit more open, I think. And it's coming across, I'd be amazed. I do check out a couple of mad, how do you put it, spittle-flecked Yoon forums now and again, and they are doing their absolute dinger at the moment, which is great because clearly she's winding them up somewhat awful by actually being efficient and good at her job. I'm delighted that Sky have covered the Scottish press of the day, because any coverage that she gets down there, they start asking questions of their own leaders. So if Sky have covered that today, it will be interesting to see just how quickly they start comparing how Nicola acts with how, if we get a Boris today, I don't know, I think it might be Hancock again, eh?
Yeah, because I hear Boris has now got a high temperature. So no, she took 16 different journalist questions today.
Well, I think yesterday the Westminster, I think there was 4.
It's usually 4 or 5, and then they just get out of there, eh?
And and the time they call it at is interesting. They call it so they need to finish it for the 6 o'clock news.
Absolutely, aye. That's probably Dominic coming thinking he's pulling a masterstroke and nobody's noticed yet, whereas the whole country's noticed that Dominic's main. Well, let's be honest, if Boris was here, they wouldn't be taking questions because Boris can't answer them.
Right, guys. What else have we spotted? Anything?
I think you've not to book your summer holidays. That'll be in the papers tomorrow. Nicola was asked about booking your summer holidays, and she says yesterday it might not be a good idea, but that'll be blown out of proportion.
I think if anybody thought they were jumping on a plane to go to Spain or wherever, then they're a bigger arse and 2 bums. If there's any lifting of the lockdown, I would hope that most people would have the sense to spend their money in Scotland and try and reboot our own economy rather than
pub.
rushing away and try to spend it somebody else's economy.
The pub.
Bearing that in mind, yeah, well, bearing that in mind, apparently the weather forecast on Sunday in the south of England, it could be 19 degrees, could be 15 here in Scotland. I think we might find out there'll be thousands and thousands of people out there in the sun.
Yeah,
I'll go and sit in the bonnet of the car and have a beer.
Brighton Beach will be heaving.
I think it's beginning to sound like we should all be buying a gun.
Why?
Dystopian future.
All right. Okay. No.
No, mate, I'll buy
Nah.
a petrol tanker. I've seen Mad Max a couple of times.
Aye. Jimmy, I'll come and co-drive for you on that if you give me a wee hand up into the cab.
Don't bother, mate. Stuart can go in the back with his gun and just take out anybody that try to get anywhere near us.
Oh dear. And that'll be us falling out with a common wheel if we go and steal a petrol tanker.
Oh God! First person we have to run over is that boy McAlpine.
Well, he'll
Just for
probably
practice.
be protected by Harvey.
Look,
Patrick.
as long as it's biofuel.
Or
as long as it's made-
biofuel.
The tanker's full of petrol. It's made from oil.
Aye, I'll nip round to the Gold Sea and fill it up before we go on tour.
I must admit, on those rare occasions when you think about these things, a fire engine's quite a good thing to steal because it's got
It's quite a hard
water
thing to steal.
and all the tools that you might need.
You know, if I was to tour Europe, which I once wanted, 10 years ago, I was quite keen to do, I think a converted fire engine would be wonderful.
Cost you a
don't we-
fortune in fuel.
Well, that's true. Don't we have an MP from Dundee?
Aye,
that
Chris Law.
had a- Chris Law, he had a fire engine. He painted it blue with a saltire in it and toured Scotland during the 2014 referendum.
Aye, we met him up in the walk, didn't we? I forgot about that. Right, guys, I think that'll do us for a Friday. Anybody gonna have a wee drink today, or we
Perish
too
the
locked down?
Oh,
Perish
no, I'll
the
have
thought.
a wee.
A wee drink.
I'll post you later on. There's
Okay.
another video sharing platform that my family want me to go onto, and it's called House Party.
Yes. Aye.
Oh, didn't do it, mate. It's for teenagers and people in their 40s who think they still are teenagers.
I noticed. I just noticed it myself. That's why I brought it up.
Mhm.
Okay then. We're on Zoom, by the way, folks. There are other platforms available. Thanks, guys. DJ Womble, who is really Stuart Lockhead. Why he's changed his name, I don't know. He won't tell me. And Jimmy Hutton, thank you. And I'm Norrie Stewart. Hope you enjoyed listening, folks, and watching. Those of you with a stronger constitution, that is. But bye for now, and we'll no doubt catch you, well, tomorrow, probably. Cheers for now.